opponents as teams, being Cloud9 and G2, and this is finally the time to see which one of these pillars is going to start to crumble down.
Yeah, I'm looking straight. We already kind of got a glimpse, Vans. We got treated, and you know, Ender was mentioning it on the desk. Cloud9, they got to see G2 in the back room. They got to study the notes, see if exactly those VOD reviews leading up to this event, if the notes were accurate. And on the same token, G2, they've got to be flying high. They've got to be riding that momentum coming into this first map.
Exactly, and we're kicking things off right away. C9 versus G2, a wall early as G2 is on the defense here on this B site, but it's a self-boost here for Giuliano to get a little bit of information at the start, and that's where C9 is headed towards. Here's the first shots, but it forces a rotation of Petra to meet up with her.
Yeah, strength of Sage to pull down that Sage wall early now. C9, they've got to deal with that. A lot of pistol bullets to even slow them down, and as soon as that Brimstone smoke comes down, Cloud9 White, they're going to rethink their entire beginning of this round. You saw Mel there kind of shanking away at that knife, or at that wall rather.
Yeah.
She was able to break a piece of that, but Glance's position here, all of this cat control, this crossfire is going to be tough for Cloud9.
G2 has all of this information. We even threw a KO knife at the beginning of the A site, and here's the first point of contact, and first blood is going to be G2. And they take the advantage into this round with 2 more only remaining now for C9 White. It's up to Mel and Bob, who start things off to turn it around for C9. One player disadvantage as Mel is looking for at least an entry somewhere inside this B site, but it's not going to be there. It's going to be Petra welcoming her into G2's home, and that is a second kill with G2 getting the pistol round.
Beautiful, beautiful, precise aiming there for Petra. Nice crosshair placement as well, and that crossfire that we talked about at Cat was so deadly. At first, I was worried there, a little bit of a whiff shot, maybe some land jitters coming through, but either way, the crossfire, believing in that definitely pays off for G2. And there was a chance, right? We saw Mel towards that B main a little bit. Since there was so much interaction going down towards that mid, she tried to find that timing, tried to take over that B site, but Petra, just so good for it.
Definitely was a great start for G2 as they had all of their players really focused up on mid and that B side. In this round, it's going to be more focused towards the A side. KO knife coming out for the attack for C9 White. Did spot a little bit of opponents here as there's a double stack from Glance and Mimi. Counter knife out, detecting the presence of only 1 player so far. And C9, once again, one of those early rounds where we're just going to pull back once they get discovered.
Yeah, quite a bit invested coming into this round. Bob even going for that half armor. At least they are going to get away with grabbing an orb. And Cloud9, these sheriffs can be quite deadly for these players on Cloud9 White, and they're just slowing it down. This is where Cloud9 shines, is when they're able to slow down the pace and really communicate across the board with each other. So these anti-ecos, fans, they are always terrifying for me.
We're already seeing a glance at the beginning here. The walls that come out early into this B side seems to be a way to just counter Mel exactly into these late lurks where they gotta have to refocus, maybe break the wall, create a presence.
Yeah, exactly. And you saw Mel here just kind of tucking behind, and she didn't want to break that recon dart, give away that free information, and a quick hit is going to come through. Just pistols on the side of Cloud9, but they get the entry.
And that's only 1 player at the staircase. Lines up for the first kill. That's Giuliano trying to answer for the second one. Meanwhile, we do have to rotate back. The wall comes out to block the CT spawn. But Katsumi now goes in for the plant. 10 seconds left on the clock, but C9 still at a 1-player advantage.
Not a lot of util here left. Bomb is ticking away, and Mimi, she's got 1 flash left. She's going to let both of her players take over that stairs position and probably pop a flash, but her teammate goes down early. No trade in sight.
But at least the trades are there for C9. Only 1 to go, and that's Mimi that you talked about before. But that's Alexis waiting. That's a thrifty round that comes in for C9, and that is 1-1 on the scoreboard.
Wow, and you know, we talked about the fact that Cloud9, they shine when they slow things down, and we got to go back to that recon in B main. Mel, the fact that she didn't give away any sound cue, no information given away for free, just simply by tucking and pouncing and everyone exploding together and making sure they get that trade results in a thrifty round win. Beautiful, simple execute coming out here for Cloud9 White.
Now this puts G2, of course, on an eco. going into, look at that reaction. We felt the tension going into the walk-ins. The crowd was cheering for G2 and C9, but at the same time, it seems as though you see the clash of G2 and C9, the players themselves. And I'm loving what I'm seeing so far.
Alexis was cracking her knuckles. She is ready.
We were saying we could almost hear it at the caster desk right here.
Exactly. I mean, it's been 2 years, Vans. 2 years for this LAN, and finally, international LAN, and these players are definitely looking sharp right now. Just an anti-eco on the side for G2, not a lot of money on their side. And interesting positions though here. You see Mary really utilizing that chamber kit in that forward position in those mid stairs. This is a lot of noise cues. You can see the rotations coming through for G2. They want to make it to this A site ASAP.
Trying to delay as much as we can for G2 as they put that brimstone smoke, towards the A main. But after we forfeit the site, that's an open one for C9 to play a 5-player post plant. And you see the entry style that Jazzy King was talking about. Slow orb, wall towards the heaven side. Going to make it very difficult for G2 to rotate back. And they're just winning their duels. It's easy kills. They have the stronger weapons. And they're looking for the flawless in this round.
Clean. Look, it's easy kills, Vans, but it feels good when you're able to walk away with a round as clean as this. As I said, these anti-ecos absolutely terrify me. So if you're Mel on the side of Cloud9 White, you're just kind of nodding your head and saying, good job, guys. This one wasn't close this time. Finally, we're going to see a healthy purchase coming through here for G2 in the first real gun round.
That was a Prime Gaming flawless that we saw as well. So we're looking at the replays. You see the positioning, playing around the dice as well is very good for C9 to play these post plants. And we've seen that in that previous series earlier on today when they play against Crew, and that's what I'm talking about. You said Mel was going to be calm? Mel's not calm. She's hyping up the team.
Getting really into it, and you love to see it, right? And
Yeah.
we have to harp on it because, again, this is the first LAN. We always talk about those LAN jitters. A lot of these players, it's their first time on an international stage such as this. To see them so invested and not really shying away from these duels is fantastic to see. Cloud9 White very much congregated towards this A main and Mimi. This flash is going to be everything. The timing, Glance gets contact.
Glance still looking to play that bait. Looking for the Jiggle Pete to fall back and potentially
Oh,
go for
that
the double swing.
nade.
Oh yeah, that's a huge nade.
Oh,
We're
no.
looking for it. You can see Mimi's looking up and
It
down.
missed.
But you missed. She's actually staying back there. Bob looking for the tap on to the orb. It's going to get picked up, and that's a Hunter's Fury that's ready.
I think that nade might have bounced off the kneecap or something. That was a funky bounce there, but luckily for Mimi, she's able to keep breathing there, and Glance still in the same area, and Cloud9 White, they're just cutting noise, but look at this reaggress.
Still Glance for the first, but Katsumi answers
the
back with 2.
trades.
That opens up the A site. The smoke comes in towards the door, and there's that lurk from Mel. The battle
30
ensues
seconds
soon
left.
towards that B site, but the plant will come in towards A, and there you go. Mel does win that fight on that lurk, but Mary wants to fight back. It's back to a 2v2 situation, but the health advantage does come in for G2. Already inside the site, Mary gets the third into the round, and it's up to Mel on the lurk to look for the clutch. Wall and the door has to be broken. Looking for the pick, will get it, and onto the fuse, we're sticking it, but
my
Mel gets the
God.
clutch. The Red Bull clutch on that 2 versus 1.
Mel was all the way at B site. She had to really book it, put on those fast running shoes, and make it to her teammate in Katsumi, who was all alone in that site. But again, the comms, the communications coming through for Cloud9 White, it almost came to bite them, almost punished them, but almost no stone left unturned here for the side of C9.
And I remember when I was watching Twitter what was going on here during the match of G2 when they're playing against X10. I remember Zaz was tweeting out, hey, X10's playing a little bit too slow right now. They're giving a lot of room for G2. And you could see for G2 in this match, they want to be relentless. They want to continue to push forward. They don't care if that is a player disadvantage. Mare will swing out and she will fight. They always have great chances to bring it back.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want to see, that sort of fearlessness and not backing down, and we're seeing it here from Mimi, inching her way forward on an anti-eco. That's a lot of sound cues. Jazzy didn't spot this, and she's going to be telling her teammates right now, they're all going B.
That was 2 sets of footsteps that she called out. Trying to pick up the rifle
Oh, no!
on the ground. She might get sprayed here, down to 29 HP. Will survive for a bit and retreats back into the A site, so that will be a Vandal picked up.
Yeah, look at this mini-map. All that information that Mimi was able to gather has made the rotations true, but Cloud9 White, they understand this.
Yeah.
They've slowed things down, and they understand they've got the better weaponry. They just need to use each other, use the information, and that's a clean equalizer for Mel.
Yeah, Petra thought that Mel didn't see her.
Oh, she stuck it.
the TP back at least from Mary, and Glance is holding towards the switch, but when we thought we had good positions, the favor is going back into C9. Nice flash to come out, but that's just going to slow down the attack. Spike has yet to get planted as Jazakin is looking for the wall to get down, and there you go. She's made it safely inside the site. The plant will come in. Now it's time for G2 to see if they can win this Thrifty.
3v3. Util a little bit lacking. And this positioning from Alexis. If she gets hard cleared, Katsumi's got to react quickly here.
That's the important part. C9 are always good for these crossfires that you talked about, Christine.
Beautiful.
And that is clean.
Beautiful. Beautiful stuff, and it's textbook, right? It got a little bit dicey, especially towards that A when Mimi got all that ground, all that information. But again, if you're just able to hold your breath, take a second to recollect yourself, give each other the information, you can really see the inner workings of Cloud9 in those moments. They slow it down, they let each other know what the next step is, and that exec, it's just as clean as it can get.
And this is a great stat line that you see right now. 20-0 for C9 White throughout the whole Game Changers series of 2022. G2 at 9-1. But we're definitely seeing as to why C9 are comfortable, despite these agent changes that are coming out from G2. A new comp that comes into this round.
Yeah, right off the bat, Huntress Fury coming through for Bob, and she's creating so much pressure. Glance was able to punish Katsumi, though. You saw Katsumi really taking that space over, trying to take advantage of all that pressure the Huntress Fury was providing. Mary, forward position, but Mel is just so deadly. She's able to push her off that angle, and not having this B main control for G2 should apply pressure. You see on the minimap, most of the members, most of the defenders are towards this A site. Cloud9 White, they've got a lot of map control. That's beautiful.
Didn't think that was going to happen, and that beautiful ult that comes out from the KO will nullify as well. Prevent the orbital strike from coming down, but Mimi still wants to stand her ground, wants to play around the dices. Now as a KO spawning as a camera, Mary does go for the support. Katsumi will now have to try to clutch a 2 versus 1. Spike is down, out in the open, by the door. Recon Dart then comes out for the defense. Knife also spots her, but she still has a lot of time to work with.
And you can see Mimi's playing this very disciplined. Doesn't want to give away a freebie. Understands that they have all the advantages. And Petra's just waiting, biding her time to react off of this contact. This smoke is huge. Katsumi misses the shot. So blind.
Beautiful
Good
play.
recovery.
Beautiful play.
Yeah, nice recovery coming through here for G2. And I mean, again, things got dicey because Cloud9 White, we talked about the amount of map control that they had. They were able to push Mary off that B main, then inch forward towards Cat. And again, that's almost the entirety of the map, right? You don't have M1 control, you don't have M2. So Cloud9 had everything they needed in their bag to make that happen. But for some reason, things didn't work out. G2, that crossfire, holding true.
I like these coaching terms that you're calling out. M1, M2. Teach this noob. Teach
Well,
this noob.
M1, mouse, mid one. It's near the bottom towards the arches. It's just a quick way to say that. You're able to, you know, get your controller not as confused. So definitely easier on that front. Mel, so aggressive, using her cages to, again, get this aiming control. When you're denying this much line of sight, this much vision, it kind of forces you as a defender to go sniffing, and that's exactly what Mary's doing. She's got an inkling, and she's able to punish.
Beautiful shots coming in and a push out on Catwalk 2. Glance, capitalize on a kill onto Jazikins. There's still an opportunity here for C9 White to turn things around because we broke that trap towards mid side, and we also have control of the door. Just now being close.
Oh, beautiful!
Katsumi with a nice headshot and is looking to answer back. The owl drone comes out, so we know that Petra is there spamming.
Oh my God!
After she gets the tag, but a counter tag comes out. Bob answers back. It's a 2v2 once again.
The spike is going to go down 2v2 as you say, but Glance, she's going to pull out the Brimstone ult a little late to the trigger, so she decides to hold on to it once more. A lot of utility coming out here for Cloud9 to hold them at bay.
Flash also available here for Alexis. Orbital strike forcing. Now Bob out of her position at dice. One more trade, but it's Miri that runs down the stairs and wins that duel. You can hear the G2 chants coming back.
And you love to see it. Mary giving a little cheer and celebrating that one, and that's a huge round for G2 to convert. It looked dicey there for a moment. That Brimstone ult really allowing them to feel confident that nothing is going to be popping those shots from back to side. They're able to really scale and speed up that retake. Able to trade it out. Beautiful stuff for G2 here.
At this point when you're watching this, these walls that's coming out onto defense so far from Giuliano is just really filtering C9 to where the stacks are. And Mary's dancing, having fun, and she's pushing the extremities, getting those fights, getting those opportunities too with that tour de force.
Tour de force. Speaking of ultimates, Giuliano has the res up, and off of that 1-round win, these 2 ultimates coming through for the Hunter's Fury on Petra and that res on Giuliano should allow them to potentially start racking some more rounds on the board, because so far it's been Cloud9's game, but that's going to change things. Mary, beautiful opening for the side of G2.
C9, now identifying that there's a lot of pressure on Catwalk, and they want to take contact on that first, but it's not working out. Finally, Alexis answers back, but there's still at a player disadvantage with the spike being down. Drone, though, actually does not spot it.
Yeah, she didn't spot Bob, and that wall should be going down here within 10 seconds.
But for the rest, this probably is going to be a position for Bob to not become a lurk, so that the other 2 working towards that catwalk, trying to see if they could answer back into something. Holding the grounds, but it's still Mary. Headshot onto Alexis, spike down once again. The res comes up, and that lurk is just not going to work at all anymore. 35 seconds left on the clock. I feel it's going to be one of those moments where you got to save.
Yeah. Gotta count the lucky stars or lack thereof. And, you know, we saw it from our screens, the opportunities that Cloud9 White had in this round coming through. But G2, so disciplined. They hold their ground. And again, it's that cat crossfire that we saw on pistol round coming through, so huge for G2.
So how do you answer back this for C9 White? Seeing that pressure on mid that's really prominent for G2 so far.
It's that Hunter's Fury on Petra's back pocket here. I think the next round coming through for C9 White, you got to say, they've been stacked on Cat every time. Let's just beeline it. Let's go down mid and use this Hunter's Fury and see if we can get some quick trades. But Cloud9 White, they've been known to slow things down. That is their identity. That is their strength. So I don't know if they're going to do that. They might just lean back into their strengths, because as we saw earlier, when they were very much controlling the pace of this game, it was with that aiming control, right? Denying those kinds of lines of sights and making G2 go sniffing. But Mary, she's been on one, right? All of these duels that she's been taking towards this cat, she was able to come out on top of it. So even though C9 are forcing G2 to go sniffing, that's kind of what G2 want.
Yeah, and now we're forcing the first timeout out of Cloud9 White to try to discuss how they can work this mid that we were just talking about. But let's take an opportunity to talk about Mary as well. I remember that feature earlier on today where we had the interview, we had the conversation with Mary, and Mary was like, I'm not too sure if I want to play to the best of my abilities on my first LAN, but damn, I think she's popping off.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, you love to see it when you can see that your team is really setting you up for success. And the squad of G2, we're talking about that, the fact that they were not going to just make this a mini Zaz anymore.
Exactly,
right? They want Mary to really blossom and flourish in her role. And we're seeing that. I mean, there was a little bit of a slower start, I think, in map 1 in the first series, but coming through here in map 2, it's really been all about Mary on this chamber. Again, it's the kind of duels that she's taking, right? We talked about the fact that on that round in mid, she went inching all the way forward, even past that Sub Rosa stair area. So very aggressive, very proactive, and that's exactly what you want to see out of your chamber if you're G2.
Yeah, Giuliano also explaining they optimize the compositions to get the best out of Marion, and that's even Giuliano stepping away from doing more duelist roles and still doing her job, right? Getting those assists, doing what she does with that utility with the Sage Wall.
Yeah, exactly. Coming into this round, Cloud9 White, they just took that timeout. Katsumi, she's got that Omen ultimate online, and that's all they have. But I wouldn't be surprised if they use this ultimate. Cloud9, they love to use it in the middle of the round, use it as some sort of distraction, a crosshair displacement, and then make a full-on exec. So we'll see if Cloud9 are able to make that work. But look at this, they are all congregated towards this cat.
Yeah, and speaking of setups, it's the same for G2 at the entrance of A. Counter flash is coming out, but nobody's gonna get hit. So here's the battle up on tree. Still locations revealed by Bob's Silver Dart, but it's still going to be a trade-off, a 4 versus 4, but the spike is still stuck towards A main while the rest of C9 are inside A. Finally move forward. Bob wins that fight against Mimi, and Wine is down, so that allows C9 White to move into the site. A knife also came out, spotted Mary towards the door. Finally the wall to block out the door. The plant's going to come down.
We'll go down. So many pings coming through here for Petra's Dart. No kills, but a lot of damage coming through here for G2.
C9 has to play inside the site because it's not really planted for them towards the A main, and
What a
Alexis
shot.
loves to play the headshot angle, and so does Giuliano with another headshot onto Mel. One more to go here. It is going to be Giuliano herself looking for the double swing. A great job for Cloud9 White off the timeout to capitalize on the round.
And that's exactly what we wanted to see. You know, I said they should rush. They didn't rush. They did exactly what Cloud9 White is known for. They went calculated, slow, very much on their own pace, on their own terms. And that pounce was everything. You saw how many pings both the Sovas and Bob and Petra got in this round. Everyone's location was revealed.
Yeah, that's what I love about this matchup too, because we talk about how there's good utility being used at this level of Game Changers, and the amount of pings that you see, the amount of slow orbs that are coming out as well, just to block out any pushes that's coming out, just the answers that they have on the fly against each other. It's going to be a very, very fun series that we're going to witness here.
Absolutely. Both teams really using almost all of their credits. Telltale sign of a close match already. And again, this cat contention here. Cloud9 were good for it the last time around. And they're fully expecting G2 to be stacked again once more. A quick wall up.
And it's going to see if it's going to cat on somebody. And it's unfortunately C9 that gets caught on it. So 2 to fall, 100 Secure to come out. And that was a round where C9 had a lot of ultimates to work with. And now they're all getting denied. What a push pushing through by G2.
And it's the Odin to get a double kill there, top mid. And I love it. I love that each team right now, they're going back and forth and they're swinging right back at each other. The reads coming through. I mean, this time G2 said, okay, you're probably going to go up our cat and contest us once more. Let us pounce on you in mid as soon as we get contact. And Petra, she's good for it with the Odin of all things.
Now on defense, it definitely feels like G2 is controlling the pacing and controlling how they want this round to be played out. C9 has to dig deep into their pockets to try to come out with the round. And it always comes down to these 1v1s, but sometimes when they actually have these nice trades towards the A site, these pulse plans have been good for C9. So how do you stop that? It's going to be Mary with this operator at the entrance of the A site. First contact, easy kill. Bob falls, but this is also an eco for C9 White. So they're going to stick together to try to get into this site, but it's being blocked and stopped by a smoke from Brimstone. Full ult from Katsumi in the back of the site. We might be able to make it in at least for that plant.
Nice Sage slow to really buy some time, allow Cloud9 to plant, and a lot of ultimates being invested into this round. It allows them to be in the site, but 4 members alive, no guns, and Mel gets taken out, just making this even more difficult.
And no stones are left unturned. That was actually 3 players converting back into Catwalk to make sure that Mel cannot lurk. So reading them like a book. G2 are retaking their site, unless Alexis goes with something. But that was, man, that could have been a huge highlight reel.
We're going to have to see a replay if we can. I need to see Alexis' POV there. She's been popping off for sure. Really, if you're Cloud9, again, you're happy with that, right? It was as close as it can be for an anti-eco, but G2, it's certainly been their rounds here. They've certainly been controlling the pace here for the past 4 rounds.
And with that, at least that eco that comes in the plant. We're at least able to salvage something here for C9, and let's check that round there from Alexis.
1, 2, 3. Oh, so close for the 4th as well.
We're gonna, you know how we have a spot on Ascent called Subrosa? I think anything around that generator is gonna have to be called Alexis at this point, because she's popping off at that area.
Absolutely, absolutely popping off. And coming into the last round here, both squads, healthy purchases, and Cloud9, they only have the Cypher ultimate to work with coming into this one. So they've got to go into, oh, Bob almost gets taken out.
I love it. A surprise
What a combo.
Exactly. But here comes a dart, a spam with the Odin, but no kills. But Mel's pushing forward. Giuliano's on the top of the wall, and they're looking for that fight. Shock darts to try to pin her down. Does a lot of chip damage, and now forces out the push. What beautiful communication by G2. But we're trying to answer back. At the same spot, it's now going to be Alexis' turn, and we're looking for this counter boost. All 4 players getting ready to move up, and that's Alexis off the top of the ropes. Giuliano falls, and here comes the Odin Aurora. It's going to get pinged out, and 3 players are now pushing through. Alexis gets the headshot, and C9 now takes over the site.
They will get the spike down. Katsumi is in such a power position. There's not going to be a smoke that's going to be able to block her line of sight off here. So on Bob's contact, expect her to swing. And this should be a simple post. I mean, G2, they've got so much to do here.
Yeah. And not much utility to work with. This flash could be huge right now, as Katsumi just got spotted on the top of the wall. Mary now trying to inch in. All she has is that headhunter. but he makes it work. It's a 2v2. Now in the back of the site, only up to one. Alexis then comes in with Jazzikins for the last 2 kills, and they tie up this half 6-6.
That got dicey. Cloud9 White are able to convert that one, but man, G2 are swinging right back. Katsumi, you know, we talked about how advantageous that high ground was on top of that stage wall, but Mary, she's just feeling confident as ever, just fully coming through and swinging, almost converting that kill and making that retake happen. But man, what a back and forth first half here, Vance.
Yes, it was super well done, super well played by G2 under defense, but this is also one of those conversations at this time that C9 will actually have to play the defense. We'll see what G2 could do about this, but before that, we still need to digest that first half, so let's see what the desk has to say.
Thank you very much, guys. There is so much to digest. We waited many, many months for this matchup, and this is the game, Athena, that we deserved.
Yeah, I mean, it's been insane. We see how close it is. It's tied up. That's exactly what we wanted to see, because that's what we're saying, these two Titans. And so with G2, they were kind of losing it at the beginning, and they kind of adapted. And so with that adaptation at like around round 6 or 7, they actually had a really good round that kind of started as their momentum breaker. So Mal actually went towards B, and I think this is where G2 started realizing that, hey, we just can't let her get picks. Can't let her lurk. Don't give her the space. And so we see Mal here kind of failing to get that first pick and Mary getting the information on that. And then they're in turn losing one in that A main. And so Mal comes back up towards that cat and instantly doesn't have any kind of like assistance for her team. She just dies, and that's kind of the beginning of the playstyle that they started having, where they just denied Mel those picks, denied Mel the lurks, and it just ended up working out great.
Yeah, you know, C9 seemed pretty strong early on, finding the lurks with both Mel and Bob on the Sova, like sort of taking all those opening fights, and that worked really well for them up until we saw some like late A main peaks from Mary shutting down Bob as well. It seemed like catching them on the good timings was definitely shutting down a lot of their mid-round options.
I mean, G2, they knew what to do with Mel on the attack, but Ender, going into the defense, do you feel like they're going to know what to do with Mel, considering the role that she's playing here?
Yeah, I don't know. Look, Mel's chamber, or Cypher rather, is just a different beast here on Ascent. It is so hard to get through. She has so many different setups. The one-ways come into play as well. And with G2 playing a no dive comp, right? No jet, no raise, and also only having, what, a Sova drone to break the tripwires as opposed to a raise or a fade in there. It's going to be really hard, I think, for them to actually acquire space on sites. And this comp from G2 does generally, typically, play slowly on the attacking side. So I think Mel is going to be a real problem.
I mean, this is the game we deserve, like I said. I can't wait to get back into it. Over to you, Vansili and Potter.
Thank you so much, my friends. And they were just talking about it, right, Christine? How do you counter that Mel now on the defense? But do you think they've done enough for C9 to have 6 rounds on the attack?
It's gonna be tough. I like the idea behind G2's comp here. You know, we talked about maybe it has to be slow, but I'm visualizing again that Brimmy with the stimmy, Giuliano on that stage with those slow lineups, and because of that stimmy, it may be able to compensate for the fact that they don't have any dive sort of agents. Again, though, they've got to take care of these Mel trips in this default while they're slowing things down in the beginning of these rounds here. Double Sentinels is no joke, Vans. You're going to see for the side of Cloud9, Sage on the one side, Cypher on the other, and the Sage wall coming through, really putting a span in the works here for G2.
South boost, and then also a counter boost, but that's only one player make it through, so that's 2 left behind for G2, so that's less numbers to run into the site, and that is going to be the advantage still for G2 somehow, and finally, there you go. There was that slight mishap that leaves the last 2 players of G2 at the entrance of A main with the spike out in the open. Mary now contacted the right click, then from Jazzikins, self-heal, as Giuliano is looking for that clutch. Now Dink and spotted. C9, clean pistol.
Clean stuff. C9 Bob there, you saw the recon. Was kind of the nail in the coffin there at the end, just making sure that the jig was up, and things got pretty dicey towards that cat. We're seeing so many double Sage walls coming through round after round, using one to boost, using one to block off an entire side of the map. Both Sages really finding a lot of value with that utility. But a strong start here for Cloud9.
Yeah, Katsumi also feeling it right there for C9, and this is going to be a round where you know, we split up the pistol rounds 1-4-1. G2 winning on the defense side. This time C9 as well on the defense. But G2, you talked about them wanting to be aggressive. Already 2 players are moving up towards Pizza. But Mel's camera is going to try to spot things up, and that's picture perfect to spot 2 players moving outside of the market. A nice ping also.
So many pings.
So much information for C9 to get ready for this push for G2.
Bob, a lot of enemies on her screen. She does get taken out. This is a 3v3. There's 2 guns to be collected in the site. And C9, they're all congregated. They're looking for a pre-take here.
Nice util for both Jazzikins and Alexis, just to prevent players from moving outside from the backside. Beautiful paranoia too. Jazzikin cleans up and sweeps 2, leaving only 1 behind. That's Petra with the picked up Spectre, and that's not gonna happen. Jazzikin gets the 3rd into the round, and that is an anti-eco in favor of Cloud9 White.
Jazzikin's the hero with that adjustment in that spray control. Beautiful stuff. Again, that could have been real bad for Cloud9 White. I love the aggression coming out here for G2, fearlessness coming through, and of course it helps that you only have some pistols on your back. But take a look at this, Bob. She was under so much pressure, and I love it when you're able to swarm like this, especially when all you have is pistols, right? Make it as difficult as you can on the enemies, and that's exactly what G2 did here. But Jazzikin's fully capitalizing off the paranoia, and it's easy peasy.
You talked about it. The idea was perfect for G2 on how they wanted to push on that sidewalk and that staircase. But again, you're playing against a Sova and a Cypher that pinged so many players and just got C9 ready for that flood that was going to come in from G2. Yeah, they lost their lives, but if you're able to get a couple more before you fall down, it just makes it easier for that retake. But this round now, G2 with the rifles, and the bonus comes in for C9. Mimi looking to congregate back towards the mid with the rest of the team, and a Sage Wall already set up by Jazzikins on Catwalk. Already 1 broken down.
And you can see exactly how slow G2 are coming into this round, especially considering it is Cloud9's bonus. They do not want to deal with any sort of shenanigans. And the shenanigans I'm talking about is Mel's position here, very close forward with that frenzy. Wants to work off this trip, and that's some information. But she's just got a frenzy. She's going to stay tucked. And G2 are controlling the map very well. You can see they've got B main control. They've got all of this mid-2 area, especially towards this pizza. Good control. That's a lot of damage.
5 HP for Bob. Allen drone now stopped. It was a camera set as well
no.
for Mel. And yeah, unfortunately, Mel turns around towards the market, and Mary just got a mishap, tripped over her feet, and she falls. One more is getting spotted. The double swing towards Kench Bench. And Mimi also dies, making it a very advantageous bonus round for C9.
Yeah, but G2, they're going to be able to get the spike down. They've got market cut off,
seconds,
and they've got the weaponry. This is exactly where you want to see those fundamentals coming through for G2. Sure, you're a man down, but you've got the spike down. You've got all the advantages, but not like that. Glance gets taken out. Petra's line of sight cut off with that smoke. It's all on Giuliano here.
Important utility that was left by Petra. The recon dart first. She still has the owl drone. Or the recon dart is ready now, excuse me. As they're setting up for this crossfire on the sidewalk, trying to isolate, just spell around the corner, but it's gonna be a bait and switch.
Wow.
Beautiful trades comes out, and that's a bonus round for C9 White, a team that has a high rate in terms of win round percentage on defense, and this is why. This is why.
This is exactly why. Those fundamentals coming through so strong for both squads that we've been seeing, really. I mean, from the first half coming into this one as well. But Mel, the fact that Mary, she felt comfortable. I mean, why wouldn't she, right? She was down in that M1 area for so long that she felt confident enough that, hey, if there was somebody going to be here, they probably would have peeked me by now. So unlucky that she doesn't clear her corners, and a beautiful opening for Mel. She's been so good at finding those kinds of one-off picks, impact frags on the board.
Now we're forcing G2 on a much lower buy. Stinger in the hands of Mary. So we still want to try to allow Mary to do the best of her capabilities, entering on this chamber. Moving up on Catwalk, met up with 2 other players, but it's still going to be Bob that decides to peek out towards the mid archway, gets the first blood into this round.
Yeah, and you can see all of this was just a ruse, right? I mean, A main is all of a sudden taken out, and that wall, though, from Jazzy, she's being a nuisance towards this cat. What a paranoia.
Wall miss, but still good enough to allow her to fall back and assist the rest of her teammates. Last 2 players now stuck inside Wine. smoke coming up, and we're just going to drop smokes after smokes. And A site is on lock, and C9, I mean, they're always comfortable with this, Christine, with leaving Mel by herself on this B side with all that Cypher utility and putting a lot of pressure more on this A site.
Yeah, exactly. It's really the power of these Cypher compositions. You really don't need a lot of babysitting with that member, right? You don't need to do those normal 2-1-2s. You can really start the beginning with your Cypher, then let them play the whole round by themselves. And
30 seconds
Mel is
left.
so good for it. Glance and Giuliano, they'll be happy if they're able to do some damage, but no damage to be found. Jazzy, such a rock star towards this cat area. And again, it's those walls. I like the timings of it. You know, we saw G2, the wall, from the beginning, right from the beginning, as the barriers go down, they're dropping it. Cloud9, they're choosing to hold on to the wall, wait just a little bit, so that they can get a little bit more value towards the latter part of the rounds.
So the prime gaming flawless as we see here. And actually that wall allows a little gap. That was a beautiful shot from Jazzikin to get that kill. And after those 3 kills, she also has a res ready for the team moving into the later rounds. And
Just a little sliver. You know, we call those LAN angles. Definitely capitalizing on those LAN angles with that 3 ping. Beautiful stuff for Cloud9.
So a timeout comes out. This time from G2.
You gotta try to stop the truck, right?
So is it trying to fight against Mel? Because most of these rounds, as we just talked about, Mel's maybe by herself towards this B side. Do we want to try to do double pump? Sorry. What's the conversation you think is going on here, Christine?
Yeah, I think G2 are probably talking about the fact that the last couple of defaults were really centered around that mid, right? Which is, it should be. You do want to go take care of that Cypher trip, but now they want to do that in tandem with either B main control, cat control, or A main control on top of that mid control, right? Pick one of these 3, and with that double control, that should apply that sort of pressure that you're trying to look for on the Cloud9 side, and that starts to manipulate those kinds of rotations. Then you get a sound cue, then you got Mary and say, hey, Mary, go kill. So definitely, hopefully G2, we've seen it, right? Their game plan is very, very thick. They've got a lot of strats in their back pocket, so that's exactly what they're looking for to bring out to the table here.
And you definitely know that G2 has the means necessary to be able to throw these fakes and these pumps, because we saw that on our defense when they pushed up all the way up on mid, and we had that information on rotate of C9, so they could create that noise, they could create that ruckus, and it starts off here towards mid, as you just mentioned here, Christine. So Mary moving forward once again, trying to see if they could find something, and this little change is from the Brimstone smoke that forces out an early owl drone from Bomb. So that's one piece of utility already gone, very important from the Silva, with 110 left on the clock.
Yeah, and you can see the spike is down outside of B main here. And as I said, we need B main control and mid 2 area, and that's exactly what G2 have gotten here. They're in prime position for this B split. You can see Mimi's just biding her time. What a shot coming out here for Bob. Mary thought she had the timing, and as she should, but Bob just kind of clotheslines her. Giuliano's going to be able to collect that spike, and all of her teammates are waiting for her at A.
Ult comes out now on the attack. That is G2 with Mimi and the rest of the team rushing into A. But look how far back we are right now. The spike has yet to move inside the site. Unfortunately, Mel has fallen at the top. Counter Hunter's Fury to try to stop things down towards this A site. But this should be a plant coming in, especially with this wall on the attack towards spawn.
Spike planted.
Spike does go down. All 4 members, all 8 players in the server are all towards this cat and this site area. In the retake, Katsumi still has a paranoia. We've got 2 flashes on the back of Alexis as well.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's about to be blind.
This is going to be a big battle on tree, but we have a perfect crossfire. And it works out for 1-for-1. And it's a 1 for Giuliano to capitalize on a second, and a res available. Only 1 left on the defense. Bob knows exactly where the last 2 players are at, but Giuliano goes to work.
Beautiful reaction, and that res came out so quick as soon as she got that kill, understanding both players are coming out through that heaven. And you love to see that, right? You love to see those communications coming through right in the nick of time. G2, they're able to hold Cloud9 off at bay in those posts. And they've been finding those kinds of successes, right? Being able to get into the site and setting themselves up in those post plants has kind of been the story here in the second half.
I was just looking at that replay, and I kind of liked it. When that double flash came out, the person that was playing towards the left side of the garden didn't want to shoot until she heard contact from her teammates so that she doesn't give her position away. And I'm pretty sure that was Giuliano. That's how she was able to get those 2 kills. Exactly. So don't give your position away, bait your teammate, get the last 2 kills, and then win that round for G2. Now, this round, though, An op coming out from Jazzikins.
Beautiful opening. Battle Sage coming through. And that's kind of what C9 needed to make sure that G2 don't start this sort of comeback. Wall goes down. And another opening. Jazzy's not missing.
And a leg shot onto Giuliano. Now the trap comes
my.
in, and that's Mel. Catches him, and that's the hat coming out from the Cypher. The detective spots the last player, and that's going to be Giuliano. Slow orb, killed by Alexis. And that's a way to answer back with the Prime giving flawless.
Jeez, and it just becomes so oppressive at that point, right? I feel kind of bad for Giuliano there in mid. There was a slow orb. There was a one-way smoke. There was a leg, right? And you took so much damage, so much pressure coming through here for Cloud9. And it's good to see that their crossfire, for these last 2 rounds anyway, towards that pizza area in middle has come through, right? We saw Bob getting that beautiful one-tap in mid, and now we're seeing this operator coming out for Jazzykins, just really dominating that part of the map.
Look at this, Christine. We're actually putting a lot of eggs into our basket in this round for G2. A half buy that comes in, getting whatever we can, actually even a force buy. We bought all the way down to almost nearly nothing. And they have at least the Phantom to work with from Mary. Again, trying to leverage her as the entry. Bulldog from Glance, but picking up this alt orb and also having this orbital strike ready now with the Hunter's Fury could be huge for them to turn it around.
Yeah, if you're G2 here, you're somewhat satisfied at this point in the round, right? You're communicating with each other, hey, look, we just baited out Katsumi's Paranoia. What other kind of stopping power do they have over there? We still got Alexis's nade, and we've got Jazzykin's slows. So at this point, they're looking for the trips, and they're looking for these Sage util, that wall. And then they're going to be able to pounce with the Spectre, with the pistols. We've seen how deadly and dangerous these sort of quasi-buys can be. This angle for Jazzykins, though, these are freebies. And Petra thinks twice before giving her those freebies.
That would have been a great opportunity as well for G2 to fight back into this B side, but they
trip.
decide to go back into A. But the trip does not get the kill. Mimi still gets first blood in this round, so Mel falls. Katsumi tries to answer back by spraying through the smoke, but the plant's still going to go down at default here for Glance.
This 1v1 from Bob.
Yes.
Here we go. Sova versus Sova. This kill is going to be everything. That sound cue. Bob hears Petra going back.
Well then, to res up Mel. And the fight comes in with the op. Jazzykin connects onto Mary, and Giuliano looks to tuck back. And what a shot from Bob! Then moves forward, but it will not check this corner. The Dig at least gets the kill with the Bulldog. Now the battle at the bottom, the jump from the air, and Giuliano tries to take her down, but they're both still alive, both stuck at generator for C9. Right click doesn't work, it's gonna be the boomstick. And now only Glance left. Orbital strike, and they're playing the clock, they're playing the time, and this is perfect for Glance so far. Now on the peak, the headshot there from Jazzykins. The defuse will be coming in.
Oh my, 0.35, 0.35. And that was as close as it can get. That shot, Jazzykins, it was everything. And those are the hardest shots to hit, but Jazzy is good for it.
And she wants to aim at the head on top of that.
Yes, I mean, it's just in her blood. I think it's the age, it's the zoomer in her. She's nothing but headshots this one, and she's good for it. Bob, I mean, just the positioning for Cloud9. They had everything they needed to make this retake work, even with G2 making it into the site as easy as they did.
Oh, I love the attitude that we see here from Jazzykins. Straight swagger, exactly.
Yes.
And G2, unfortunately, in another round where the economy is in shambles. Thankfully, though, they have that dual defense available from Mary, but that's a chamber on the attack. And the Al drone from Bob sees that a trip is actually towards B main. So does this mean that we have less players on the attack for G2 towards B main? How do you adapt for C9?
Yeah, I kind of like the fact that Jazzy's not going to mess with that trip. She's just leaving it open, and she's maintaining that line of sight. I wouldn't be surprised if Bob early rotates, but the fact that they don't have this mid control is making her stay towards this market area. But right now, Cloud9, they've got a lot of information. This trip is holding them at bay at Cat as well.
I think Petra just got legged. Actually, Jazzykins pushed out, saw her, legged
Wait,
her, and now they're falling back towards the A side, and Katsumi gets the pick onto Giuliano. Then Knife comes out for information on more. Paranoia to answer back, and this is not looking good for G2 to turn it back around here on Ascent. 4 players left alive, and this round, important. But it's not going to work out. It's clean so far for C9. A 3 versus 1. Glance has to pop off, but it's Mel instead, and C9 win the first match.